Hello and welcome to Creepy Things I have found on the internet while trying to sleep. This is my favorite kind of video to do because I get to share my fears with yours and make them your fears, hopefully, if all goes right. Today's video, we have a legend of an enormous German building that holds a secret in its basement. We also have a tale of a demon that has recently busted out of its prison in Japan. That's cool. And a follow-up to Mr. Josiah Worley. I don't know if you remember him. I did a video on him about his extreme hauntings. We do have an update and a few videos to share. I've been trying to reach out to Mr. Worley to see if he would be willing to talk with us. He is not a very easy person to get to, and he also does have kind of a lot of controversy surrounding him regarding this because of accusations of faking the encounters, things like that. But that's not anything I'm interested in. I hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing. It really means a lot to me and the channel, and I'm really trying to help this grow so I don't ever have to go back to an office ever again. Thank you. I love you so much. I literally almost choked on my spit. Here's the video and a motorcycle. Because they have no respect. Well, thanks. The first one I want to start off with is something that I heard of a couple days ago. So the Seshoseki is also called the Killing Stone. It's a stone that's by a volcanic mountain that allegedly, according to legend, this nine-tailed fox spirit was set to live their life in. Basically, the story is the stone is believed to be the transformed corpse of the Tamamonome, which is a beautiful woman who was exposed as a nine-tailed fox. Like I said, working with the evil Daimyo. Please forgive me. They're plotting to kill the emperor and take his throne. But when the nine-tailed fox was killed by a famous warrior, its body became the stone. And then later on, a Buddhist priest performed an exorcism ritual and begged the spirit to consider her salvation. But the Tamamonome relented and swore to never haunt the stone again. Well, fun fact, apparently the stone is split in two. And it has recently split in two this week. Here are some pictures of the stone, before and after. I was able to screen grab some of the conversation in Japanese that's been translated. It's really rough, I'm so sorry. But as you can see, there is some concern spiritually. I know that their culture is very spiritual, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought that it could not be worse timing. To be honest. This is kind of a spooky story. The reason why I think it's spooky is just because you really don't know what was going on. Back in World War II, there was a lot of kind of occult sort of practices in the military. It's really well known that Adolf Hitler was trying to do things that were metaphysical in order to gain an advantage in the war. This is an unusual fictional tale that blends historical facts about an enormous German building that began in 1872 as a Prussian barracks. This is going to be terrible because I'm going to butcher it, but the celle, neues rathaus, which is very German, is a gorgeous Gothic type building that has a really violent history. This building is 200 miles west of Berlin. And it's only a town hall today, but it does have a really thick history and possibly holds a really dark secret in the basement. So pretty much throughout all of the war, the town hall was just a building. It wasn't used for anything special. But however, when Hitler came to power and started militarizing Germany, the town hall, the Rathaus, it evolved into a military headquarters for the Nazis. It was a major housing for a lot of soldiers, and the initial reports of paranormal stuff began only after the war. When the English and the American forces made their final kind of push through Germany, they discovered that the Nazis had flooded and sealed the bottom floors of the neues rathaus. And this was kind of weird and was notable of why they would do that, or why they would fill an entire basement with concrete. Now, they were aware that the Nazi regime had hidden valuable stolen artworks, artifacts, things like that they had taken the later days of the war. So they thought that maybe they were trying to hide the artifacts, the paintings, the things that they had in the basement by filling it with concrete. There was a portion of the basement that wasn't filled with concrete, but it was in turn filled with water. So they ordered a dive expedition to investigate the lower levels of this structure to see what they can find. On April 15th, 1945, the expedition produced one of the most vivid accounts of what that basement was hiding. 3 divers went down at separate points, each of them tethered by a line. After 30 minutes under, only one man resurfaced. He said that once he entered the subterranean complex, he claimed that he saw many sigils etched into the walls of the first and second floors. These included pentagrams and other occult-type symbols. As if this wasn't sinister enough, he also said that when he swam to the 3rd floor, he came across mutilated bodies strapped in chairs. The state of these bodies were nothing like he had ever seen, he said. He saw belly buttons missing limbs, and perhaps the scariest was that animal appendages were attached to these bodies. More specifically, he said that he had seen goats' heads sewn onto human bodies. When he came out of the water, he was ranting and raving like a crazy person, and it took him hours, they say, to calm him down, that he actually required sedation. Now, this man was an experienced diver at the time, and he was likely the most experienced in the world. He told everybody around him that it was like the mutilated bodies were moving in the flooded rooms, writhing in their chairs like they were trying to get out. The same diver also claimed that there was a dark form chasing him through the water on his ascent back to the surface. After this, the diver was never the same. He refused to dive ever again. In fact, he took a medical discharge not long after this event. The other 2 divers' bodies were never recovered, although the tether lines attached to them were. Only a few days later, the rest of the British Army arrived to formally occupy that specific zone, and on April 21st, the rathaus was handed over to the British Army. The commanding officer was relieved of his post at that site, and soon after, the subterranean levels were resealed again with concrete. So what did they have in there? What were these alleged pagan symbols and bodies that were on the lower floors? If it's true that they were mutilated, then maybe they were a part of something more sinister. I did mention earlier that the paranormal wasn't reported until after the war. During the Cold War, the building became a permanent barracks for NATO troops. Soldiers there reported that there was paranormal phenomena around the site and that it was increasing. An English infantryman named Stephen Daly said that on his first night in the barracks, he awoke to silhouettes in a formation of men marching past his window. Seemed like a regular event as NATO patrols roved throughout the base. However, it wasn't until the next day that he remembered his room was on the 2nd floor, with the window more than 10 feet above the ground. Daly went to serve in cell for more than 4 years in the 80s and experienced several bizarre occurrences during this time in the barracks. These included the sound of jackboots in empty hallways or the parade ground when most of the force was on leave. Additionally, sounds of hushed German voices in vacated or locked rooms were also not uncommon. In a far more dramatic account, a private by the name of Martin Fox awoke abruptly one night to find his bed levitating 8 feet off the ground. After he realized it wasn't a prank, he panicked. This caused the bed to come crashing down, and it was so loud. Another example is a sergeant major who was out on the grounds one evening and watched a ghostly form of a German panzer column moving across the road next to him in complete silence. It was also not uncommon to find enlisted men returning to their previously clean and secured rooms to find them vandalized. There was also sightings of shadowy figures in hallways and corners. Some men even claimed to have been woken up by these entities standing over their beds at night. On the higher floors, some rooms had pentagrams and odd symbols etched into the floors of the walls. This is reminiscent of the motifs that had frightened the diver. Eerie stories spread around like wildfire among the soldiers. There were occasions when they dared each other to stay one night in one of these rooms. Allegedly, some of these same men took their lives not long after. The suicide rates are typically high in the overseas military. Nonetheless, official documents noted that the barracks had an unexplainable spike in medical discharges during the 80s. Many of these resulted in a form of psychological evaluation that determined that the men were either depressed, schizophrenic, or suffering from some form of acute anxiety. As a medical examiner recorded, there seemed to be a dark, oppressive sort of atmosphere over the site. And finally, we have an update from Josiah Worley. I'm not sure if you remember the video that I did of him. If not, it is linked below. But Josiah has a ghost problem, or a telekinesis problem, or both, or something. Something's going on with Josiah. Last time I did the video, he had stopped posting for quite a while, but he has actually been posting relatively normally these days. Shit is still going down.
Okay. I'm going to go to sleep. If you, speak now or forever hold you. Or forever hold your peace. Dude. Bro. Okay. So, apparently I sound like Kermit the Frog. When I'm scared. That's a little sketchy. Also, it fits the bill, dude. Alcohol, I drank a bunch. Fucking whatever. Fits the bill.
This is another one of those videos where you watch a few times and you're just kind of like, even if he were to have done it with strings, how would he have done it with strings? Why wouldn't you be able to see any of the strings? He did say he drank a lot, and I know that those moonshine pickles are like 40 proof or something.
It's because of that right there. Straight up alcohol. I started drinking. Oh, shit. Okay. Dude. I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm going to put this on my fucking TikTok because that was unexpected.
So you can look at this one of two ways. You can say it moved out of the camera's angle. He could have very easily have pulled it with a string. Right, okay, I feel that. And you can also think of it with this, is that if that was the case, in the direction that it was being pulled, he actually walked in front of it. So wouldn't it have pulled the string if he had caught it? I don't know. If he is faking it, he's really good at it. That's all I gotta say. So the first time I saw this video, I was just kind of like, wow, something fell back there. But it turns out, reading through the comments, that the box that fell in the back was actually his mother's ashes, her remains. He mentions in his earlier TikToks that he thinks that it may be his mother. Or it could be something else pretending to be his mother to allow it in. But, I mean, to be fair, it's already in, if you ask me.
I wish I was joking. But I'm not. Make sure my penis. No, I'm starting to think that I shouldn't drink.
So there you have it. Shit's still going down over there with Mr. Josiah. I didn't want to show all of his content since I know that he has his own platform. So if you do want to follow Josiah and all of his shenanigans with his telekinesis or his ghost or whatever, you can find him on TikTok at Josiah Worley. The link is below. And with that said, I am Crystal. This is Getting Spooky. I hope you have a good night and sweet dreams.